All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at a fascinating historical mystery, setting the scene for an incredible event that literally bridges the earthly and the heavenly realms. Two completely different dimensions are about to converge in a single fleeting moment. We're talking about an event that essentially acts as a portal, revealing the sheer, overwhelming scale of a story that spans across both heaven and earth.
For centuries, people have tried to capture this exact fraction of a second, a moment that changed absolutely everything. But what actually took place when Jesus left the ground? If we strip away the centuries of paintings and artistic interpretations, a spectacular, two-sided historical story emerges. Today, we're going to break down this extraordinary event, diving into exactly what happened in the very moment the earthly realm met the divine.
Part 1. The Disciples' View.
So, to really grasp this moment, we have to start exactly where the original audience stood, with their feet firmly planted in the dust. Picture the disciples looking up, their vision ending exactly where the clouds begin. From a purely human, earthly perspective, the event is almost quiet. It's a fading away. The clouds act as a literal curtain dropping on a massive stage play. To the human eye, he just disappears into the atmosphere, and the story kind of stops. There's no grand fanfare visible from the dirt down below. There's really just an obscure, silent disappearance.
But here is where it gets interesting. The boundary of those clouds? It wasn't an ending. It was a threshold. It wasn't just an empty sky up there. This moment completely challenges us to stop staring at the fading clouds and start visualizing what is happening on the exact opposite side of that atmospheric curtain. The true narrative is about to begin just out of sight.
Part 2. Beyond the Clouds.
We basically have a split-screen reality playing out simultaneously here. While the disciples experienced a quiet disappearance and a really profound silence down below, a grand, unseen anticipation was happening at the exact same time up above. Down on earth, there is confusion and a hushed silence on the hillside. Up above, there is breath-holding anticipation. Heaven was waiting.
Just think about the sheer scale of that reality for a second. The very second he vanished from earthly eyes, an entire realm was in a state of absolute readiness. It implies immense preparation. An entire unseen dimension was standing at attention. This wasn't some surprise arrival. It was a highly anticipated, scheduled return. The silence the disciples experienced on earth perfectly matched the electric tension of a realm that was preparing to absolutely erupt.
Part 3. The Heavenly Reception. Because he didn't just quietly arrive. The King of Glory returned in victory. This specific phrasing completely shifts the tone from a quiet departure into a massive triumphant arrival. This wasn't a quiet disappearance into the ether, it was a full-blown homecoming parade. It's the vivid imagery of a conquering hero walking back through the gates of his home city after a universally altering campaign.
So what we're actually looking at is a carefully choreographed sequence spanning two totally different realities. First, there's a physical liftoff into the air, ending the visual for humanity as he disappears into the clouds. But that immediately triggers a victorious, unseen arrival on the other side, ending with a massive crescendo where all of heaven responds. It wasn't just a physical movement, it was a seamless, historical transition between two completely different worlds.
Now just imagine the immense, immersive energy of that exact moment, a complete and total reaction from the heavenly realm to the King of Glory's return. We don't know exactly what that sounded or looked like, and honestly that ambiguity is incredibly powerful. Was it a deafening roar? Was it a song? Was it an immense rushing wind? What we are meant to take away from this is the absolute totality of it. While a handful of disciples stood quietly on a hill in the Middle East, an entire dimension exploded in a synchronized response.
Looking at the whole chronology, what felt like a definitive ending to those humans standing on Earth was actually the inciting incident for the grandest celebration in the unseen world. Those few pivotal seconds show a perfect transfer of energy from Earth to heaven. The earthly departure hits that firm visual boundary of the clouds and immediately crosses over into a triumphant return. It is an unbroken chain of events connecting the quiet dust of Earth directly to the thundering halls of heaven.
Which leaves us with this final, massive thought. If all of heaven responded to the return of the King of Glory in victory, what was that exact moment of reception like at the very center of it all? How did God receive Jesus Christ after his ascension? We've traced these historical events right up to the throne room, bringing us to the very edge of the ultimate mystery. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today, and remember, never stop wondering what sits just beyond the clouds.